Assalamu alaikum, kids. We will inshallah be having our second session of the first module, Thinking Like a Historian, as scheduled. Before we join the live session, let's have a look at an important history concept, the structure of time. Today, we are going to learn about the various dating systems in history. The concept is a little tricky, and even grown-ups will need some time to understand it completely. You have this video and you can watch it over and over until you get the hang of it. A good idea would be to have an adult sit with you and watch the video together. When you study history, you will frequently see terms like AD, CE, BC, and BCE written next to a number. You will also sometimes see AC in place of AD in history books written by Muslims. But what do these labels mean? To begin understanding, let's just take a step back and look at the number line concept in mathematics. So let's say this is a number line and this is the 0 point. What comes after 0? It's 1, 2, 3, 10, 20, 30, and so on. As you can see, the number is getting bigger. An important thing to note over here is that as we go from left to right, the numbers on the number line get bigger. Now, what comes before 0? Minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 10, minus 20, minus 30, and so on. While the number is actually getting bigger, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, but because of that negative sign, just before the number, it is actually getting smaller. So on the number line, as we move from right to left, the numbers get smaller. Now, using this concept of the number line from mathematics, let's apply this to the history timeline. At the time of making this video, we are in the year 2022. But where does this 2022 come from? What happened 2022 years ago? Did the world start at that point in time? Or were humans born at that point in time? And there wasn't anything before that? That's not the case. The world and the humans existed long before that. So someone in the past thought that we need to have a standard dating system, and for that, there has to be a starting point. Ideally, it should have been from the beginning of time, so that we can count ahead from that point onwards. But we don't have a way to determine the start of the world. So the second best alternative was to start from a particular important reference point. All the years before that point would be known as years before the reference point, and all the years after that would be called as years after the reference point. Now, the Christians of Europe in the past thought that the most important reference point in history was the birth of Jesus Christ, or Isa alayhi salam. On the other hand, the Muslims thought that the most important reference point was the Hijrah to Medina. The Muslims and Christians had their own reasons for selecting these events as reference points, and we keep that discussion for some other time. But for the time being, let's just acknowledge that these 2 points have become widely accepted as standard dating systems throughout the world. So with the Christian calendar, Isa alayhi salam was born approximately 2,000 years from today. Let's mark it with this red jump on the timeline. 2022 years to be more accurate, and the wheel was invented approximately 3,000 years before his birth. Which means that the wheel was invented approximately 5,000 years from now. Similarly, with the Hijri year now at 1443, Hijrah happened 1443 years before today. Let's park it with the blue jump on the timeline. Similarly, the wheel was invented approximately 3,600 years before the Hijrah, which means once again that it was invented approximately 5,000 years from now. So under both systems, the wheel was invented approximately 5,000 years from today. Now coming to those labels. When we see BC after any number, it means X many years before the birth of Christ. And AD before any number means X many years after his birth. AD stands for Anno Domini, which means in Latin, year of our Lord. And that's why some Muslims prefer to write AC, meaning after the birth of Christ. Recently, some people in the West criticized that this dating system was religious in nature and they did not like it. So they renamed AD to CE as abbreviation for Common Era and BC to BCE, standing for Before Common Era. Both these systems, however, have the same reference point, which is the birth of Isa alayhi salam. Similarly, BH and AH stand for before Hijrah and after Hijrah. So, to conclude, just like the number line, time on history line flows from left to right. And if we wish to go back in time, we have to go from right to left. Hopefully, you have now understood how the history dating systems work. If you still have any confusions, you can watch this video many times to get more clarity. Remember, once again, this is a tricky concept and will require some time. That's why having an adult to guide you will be very helpful. Thank you, and inshallah, I will see you soon in the second session.